My name is Chloe, and I am 16 years old living in what feels like the quietest town on earth, Maple Creek, Ohio. On the surface, my life is pretty average. I go to high school, I have a part-time job scooping ice cream at the local diner, and I spend most of my free time in my room, sketching in my notebook. My bedroom is my whole world, my sanctuary. The walls are covered in my drawings, and my desk is always a mess of pencils, charcoal sticks, and art books. It is the one place I can truly be myself and escape from the rest of the world, or more specifically, from my brother Leo. He is 17, and in his mind he is not just Leo, he is a rock god in waiting. The wall between my peaceful sanctuary and his chaotic lair is thin, way too thin. Most days, my life has a constant soundtrack, and it is not a good one. It is the sound of an electric guitar being tortured, a loud, screeching cacophony of distorted chords and fumbled solos. He has this cherry red electric guitar and a giant amplifier that he cranks up so loud it makes the posters on my wall vibrate. For a long time, I just learned to live with it. I would put on my headphones, turn up my own music, and try my best to imagine I lived in a house without him. I do not like fighting, I would rather just keep the peace, so I let it go. But then, things started to change. Leo started to become more than just annoying, he became a menace. He has this hunting knife that our grandpa gave him a few years ago. He is obsessed with it, always polishing it and acting like it makes him some kind of tough guy. One afternoon, I came home from my shift at the diner and my bedroom door was slightly open. I walked in and felt a chill go down my spine. My room was a mess, my drawers were open, and my sketchbook, my most private possession, was lying open on my bed. I knew instantly it was him. That was when the blackmail began. At first, it was small things. He would demand I do his chores, threatening to tell Mom and Dad I failed my last algebra quiz if I did not. But then it got serious. I had been working extra shifts for months, saving every single dollar I earned for a new digital art tablet. It was my dream. I kept my savings in an old coffee can hidden in the back of my closet. He found it. He walked into my room one evening, not even bothering to knock, and he was holding the can. He smirked at me, that horrible, arrogant smirk. "I know you snuck out to go to that music festival last month, Chloe," he said, his voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Mom and Dad would flip out. They would probably ground you until you graduate. So here is the new arrangement. This money you have been saving, it is mine now. A small price to pay for my silence." In that moment, he stopped being my brother. He became my nemesis, a monster living down the hall who was stealing my future right out from under me. My first instinct was to try and fix this without a huge fight. I waited until he was in a seemingly good mood and went to his room to try and talk to him, to reason with him. I explained how much that art tablet meant to me, how hard I had worked. He just laughed, a short, barking laugh that made my stomach clench. He picked up his guitar, hit one loud, awful chord that made my ears ring, and told me to get out of his room before he changed his mind about keeping my secret. My next idea was to just be smarter about hiding my money, but it was no use. He was relentless. He would wait until I was at school or work and then tear my room apart looking for it. Every single day was filled with dread, waiting for him to corner me with a new demand or a fresh threat to tell our parents. I felt like a prisoner in my own house. I tried to talk to my mom and dad about it, but I could not tell them the whole truth. I just said Leo was being a really big pest and going through my things. They gave me the classic parent response, brushing it off as normal sibling stuff. "You two are almost adults," my dad said without looking up from his newspaper. "You need to learn how to get along." They had no idea. The real low point, the moment I felt everything was truly hopeless, came on a Friday night. I had managed to save up a little bit more money, just enough to finally put a deposit on the tablet online and have it reserved for me. I was so close, I could almost feel it. Leo must have sensed my excitement because he came into my room, that stupid knife tucked into the waistband of his jeans. He saw the cash I had laid out on my desk. He did not even say a word at first. He just walked over, picked it up, and started counting it. "Nice," he said, stuffing my hard-earned money into his pocket. "I have been wanting to get a new effects pedal for my guitar. This should just about cover it." I broke down. I begged him, I pleaded, I even started to cry, telling him he could not do this. He just shrugged, completely unmoved. "Should have thought about that before you decided to break the rules, little sister," he said. Then he turned and left, and a few minutes later, I heard the triumphant, screeching wail of his guitar starting up again, louder and more obnoxious than ever. He was playing a victory song, funded by my stolen dreams. I just laid on my bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling completely and utterly defeated. I was powerless. He had won, and there was nothing I could do about it. That night, I did not sleep. I just laid in bed, listening to the muffled sounds of his guitar through the wall, and something inside me shifted. The sadness and helplessness started to burn away, replaced by a cold, hard anger. He finally stopped playing around 2 in the morning, and the sudden silence was deafening. In that silence, a plan began to form in my mind, crystal clear and sharp. This was not about getting my money back anymore. This was about taking back control. This was about making him feel as powerless as he made me feel. I waited another hour just to be sure he was sound asleep. Then I slid out of bed and crept out of my room. My first stop was the garage. I found my dad's toolbox and took out a pair of wire cutters and a small metal file. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but my hands were steady. I crept down the hall to his room. The door was open a crack, and I could hear him snoring. The room was dark, but the moonlight coming through the window landed right on his nightstand, where his precious knife was sitting. I tiptoed inside, my breath held tight in my chest. I grabbed the knife and retreated back to the safety of the garage. I secured the knife in the workbench vise, its sharp blade pointing up at me. I took the metal file and with slow, deliberate strokes, I started grinding down the tip. I worked for what felt like forever, scraping the sharp point away until it was rounded, dull, and completely useless. It still looked like a knife, but its edge, its entire purpose, was gone. Next was the amplifier, his source of power, his voice. I went back to his room. He had not moved. The amp was sitting in the corner like a big, black monster. I gently turned it around and used a screwdriver from my pocket to remove the back panel. Inside was a jungle of colored wires. I remembered him bragging to one of his friends once about how the input signal wire was the most important one, the one that carried the sound from the guitar. I scanned the wires and I found it, a thin, unassuming silver wire. I took the wire cutters, positioned them carefully, and with one quick, satisfying snip, I cut it in two. I carefully screwed the panel back on, making sure everything looked untouched. I put the knife back on his nightstand, returned the tools to the garage exactly where I found them, and then I slipped back into my own bed. My heart was still pounding, but a wave of calm washed over me. I had done it. The next morning, I was woken up not by the sound of his guitar, but by a loud scream of pure frustration. "What is wrong with this thing?" I heard him yell from his room. I smiled to myself. I went downstairs to get some breakfast. I heard him stomping around, plugging and unplugging things, cursing under his breath. A few minutes later, there was another yell, this time a cry of disbelief. He must have found the knife. He came storming out of his room, his face red with rage. "What did you do?" he snarled, pointing a finger at me. I just took a slow sip of my orange juice and looked back at him with the most innocent expression I could manage. "What are you talking about, Leo?" I asked, and right there I saw it in his eyes. He knew it was me, but he could not prove it. And more importantly, he could not tell Mom and Dad without admitting to weeks of blackmail and theft. He was trapped. His weapons, the threats, and his stupid knife were useless. The power had shifted, and now it was all mine. In the weeks that followed, a wonderful, beautiful quiet settled over our house. Leo was moody and withdrawn, but he left me completely alone. He eventually got his amp fixed. It was an easy repair, just like I had planned. It was enough to cause him major inconvenience and frustration, but not enough to cost a fortune. He never figured out for sure what happened, but he started treating me differently, with a new kind of respect, maybe even a little bit of fear. I started my part-time job again, and this time I saved up my money without any trouble. I finally bought my art tablet, and it was even better than I had imagined. Life was good, it was peaceful. But here is the real kicker, the secret little twist that I still hug to myself whenever I think about it. I never actually snuck out to that music festival. I had bought a ticket, sure, but I came down with a nasty flu the day before and spent the entire weekend in bed with a fever. Leo had only seen the ticket stub in my trash can and jumped to his own conclusions. The entire campaign of terror he waged against me, the blackmail, the stolen money, it was all built on a complete lie. He had all this power over me, but his power was just an illusion, and I had torn it all down with a single snip of a wire. He never knew. He was defeated by a ghost.